Imagine standing in the middle of a massive foyer where the marble floors are so polished you see your own reflection looking back with a mix of awe and absolute exhaustion. You have 20,000 square feet of prime real estate in the Hollywood Hills, 3 infinity pools, and a garage that looks like a high-end dealership. For decades, this was the ultimate dream. The bigger is better philosophy was the golden rule of the elite. If you weren't living in a house that required a digital map just to find the kitchen, were you even winning? But something strange is happening in 2024. Those massive mega mansions are starting to feel a bit, well, cringe. Your favorite A-listers are ditching these sprawling, cold estates for something much smaller, cozier, and honestly, a lot more real and human. We are witnessing a cultural turn where the term McMansion has become the ultimate symbol of being out of touch. Why is this happening right now? The collective realization has finally hit the hills. More rooms usually mean more problems. When you own a house with 15 bedrooms and 20 bathrooms, you aren't just owning a home, you're managing a hotel without the paying guests. You need a full-time staff just to keep the dust off the chandeliers. The modern A-lister is waking up to the fact that they spend more time worrying about a roof leak in an unused wing than enjoying life. It is a total myth that more space equals more happiness. In fact, many celebrities are finding these giant houses feel like golden cages. They are isolated, drafty, and incredibly expensive to keep running every single day. Now, let's spill some financial tea. Even with millions in the bank, the skyrocketing maintenance costs of these mega estates are impossible to ignore. We aren't just talking about a high electric bill, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars every month just to keep the security systems humming and the landscaping perfect. Is this downsizing a genuine lifestyle choice, or is it a secret financial emergency? Rumors are swirling that even the wealthiest stars are feeling the pinch of a shifting economy and the watchful eye of the taxman in places like Los Angeles and London. It turns out that paying for a private bowling alley you haven't used since 2019 isn't exactly a smart investment anymore. There is also a new way to show off, the minimalist flex. In a world where everyone is trying to be extra, having less has become the ultimate way to prove how much you actually have. It is the architectural version of quiet luxury. When a celebrity moves into a beautifully curated cottage, they are sending a powerful message. I am so successful that I don't need a palace to prove my worth. It is a power move that says they actually value their time, their mental health, and their peace of mind over square footage. They are trading the goldfish bowl effect of a massive glass mansion for the privacy and intimacy of a smaller footprint. It is all about quality over quantity now. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Would you rather have a bowling alley you never use, or a house that actually feels like a home? The answer might surprise you when you see what is incredibly happening right now in the market. But wait, there's so much more to this story. You won't believe some of the big names who have already made the jump. Think about famous icons who have traded their sprawling compounds for something you could practically fit in a backyard. Can you imagine a billionaire living in a prefab box? It sounds like a joke. But it is the new reality of the global elite. Leading the charge in this architectural revolution is none other than Elon Musk. You've probably heard the rumors, and yeah, they're totally true. The guy who wants to colonize Mars and owns some of the most influential companies on the planet decided that a $50,000 foldable house was his new vibe. Imagine that. The richest man in the world isn't waking up in a cavernous master suite with a view of the sunset. He's essentially living in a high-tech studio that gets delivered on a truck and unfolds in a matter of hours. It's the ultimate status symbol because it screams that his mind is focused on the future and the mission, not on fixing a broken elevator in a basement he hasn't visited in 3 years. This move sent shockwaves through the industry. Suddenly, having a massive estate wasn't the ultimate goal anymore. Efficiency was. People started asking themselves, if the man who owns SpaceX can live in a prefab box, why am I struggling to pay the heating bill for 5 guest rooms that stay empty all year? It's a total game changer for the global ego. But it's not just tech billionaires making the move. Have you seen your favorite influencers lately? We've gone from the starving artist van life aesthetic to what experts are calling luxury nomad goals. It's no longer about living in a van because you're struggling to make ends meet. It's about living in a custom-built $100,000 Sprinter van or a designer tiny home because you want the ultimate freedom to move. These creators are trading the white picket fence dream for a life of curated adventure. They want the high-end finishes, the sustainable solar power, and the minimalist kitchen, but they want it in a space that doesn't anchor them to one space. spot. It's a total vibe shift that proves luxury in 2024 is a state of mind and a level of mobility, not a permanent zip code. Speaking of shifts, let's talk about the icons who saw this coming miles away. Figures like Rick Steves have been preaching the smaller footprint gospel for years. While everyone else was building bigger and bigger, these travel and tech moguls were advocating for intimacy, connection, and simplicity. They realized long ago that when you have less physical stuff to manage, you have much more life to live. And finally, the rest of the world is actually listening. This ties directly into the quiet luxury movement that has been dominating the fashion world. You know the look, unlabeled cashmere, neutral tones, and subtle quality. Well, that stealth wealth has officially moved into the housing market. People are realizing that a perfectly designed two-bedroom cottage can be far more impressive than a flashy, tacky mansion that looks more like a shopping mall than a home. There's also a darker side to the mega mansion life that people are finally being honest about. The goldfish bowl effect. Think about it. When you live in a massive glass palace in the hills, you are essentially on display. To maintain that kind of property, you need a small army of staff, gardeners, cleaners, security, pool technicians. You are never truly alone. For celebrities who are constantly in the public eye, their home should be a sanctuary, but these giant estates often feel more like a stage where they are always performing for their own employees. By downsizing to smaller, more tucked away spaces, they are reclaiming their privacy and their sanity. They want to be able to walk to the kitchen in their pajamas at midnight without running into 3 different people they have to pay. Can you blame them? Now, let's talk about the taxman, because he's playing a huge role in this drama. In major hubs like Los Angeles and London, the rumor mill is working overtime. Many believe these A-listers are running away from new mansion taxes that make owning an oversized estate a financial nightmare. In LA, for example, the new tax measures have everyone scrambling to sell before the bill gets even higher. Is it about saving the planet with a smaller carbon footprint, or is it just about saving their bank accounts from a massive tax bill? It's probably a bit of both. When a city starts charging extra just for the privilege of having 20 bathrooms, suddenly that cozy cottage starts looking like a very smart financial move. And don't even get me started on the social media burnout factor. For years, creators felt this intense pressure to film house tours to prove they had made it. But keeping a 30-room estate camera ready 24/7 is a recipe for a total mental health crisis. They're exhausted from the performative nature of luxury. They want a simpler life where they can actually breathe, and honestly, the public is starting to relate to that more than the diamond-encrusted faucets. But is this the whole story? Or are these celebrities keeping a secret about where their money is actually going? The reality behind the great downsize might be even more calculated than you think. But here's the dirty little secret that the paparazzi aren't always catching on camera. Is the modern A-lister really living in a shed, or are they just diversifying their massive portfolios? Rumors are swirling that many of these stars aren't actually living smaller. They are just splitting their footprint across the globe. Instead of one massive 20,000 square foot behemoth that requires a small army of staff to maintain, they are buying 3 or 4 curated small homes in different zip codes. It is a strategic move to keep the taxman at bay while maintaining a lifestyle that feels expansive yet manageable. It's like having a revolving door of aesthetic experiences rather than one giant dusty museum. The evidence is all over the market right now, and the numbers don't lie. If you look at the high-end listings in the hills of LA or the posh streets of London, the demand for those sprawling McMansions has absolutely tanked. We're seeing massive price cuts in the millions for homes that used to be the gold standard of success. Meanwhile, there are literal bidding wars over curated small homes with high-end finishes. It's wild to think that a 2-bedroom bungalow can now fetch a higher price per square foot than a palace with its own private bowling alley. People are craving intimacy and connection. They want spaces that feel lived in and intentional rather than cold and cavernous. The market is shifting from how much can I own to how well can I live. And it's leaving the old school developers scrambling to figure out how to pivot. Of course, you know the internet has some spicy thoughts about all of this. If you scroll through TikTok or X, the discourse is split right down the middle. Half the people are praising their favorite celebrities for finally being relatable and choosing a simpler, more grounded life. They see a star in a cozy kitchen and think, wow, they're just like us. But the other half, they are calling it out for what it might actually be. Poverty cosplaying. Critics argue that a billionaire living in a $50,000 foldable house is just a performance to avoid the social backlash of extreme wealth inequality. Is it a genuine move toward humility, or just a clever PR strategy to make the super rich look like they're part of the team? This brings us to the big greenwashing speculation. We all want to believe our favorite icons actually care about their carbon footprint, right? By downsizing, they are technically using less energy, less water, and fewer raw materials. It looks great on a sustainability report and gives them an eco-friendly edge that builds a lot of public trust. But if they're still flying a private jet to get to their green tiny home, does it really count for much? Some skeptics speculate that the Great Downsize is the ultimate PR move to look environmentally conscious without actually sacrificing any of the high-octane perks of being wealthy. So, what happens next? Speculation says we are about to see the rise of luxury micro-communities replacing the traditional gated mansion communities. Imagine a high-end neighborhood, but instead of giant houses, it's filled with designer cottages sharing a central communal garden and world-class amenities. But this leaves us with a massive problem, the ghost mansion dilemma. What happens to all those empty 30-room houses that no one wants anymore? Some experts think they'll be chopped up into luxury apartments, while others fear they'll just sit there as abandoned monuments to a bygone era of excess. The Great Downsize is more than just a real estate trend. It's a cultural reckoning for all of us. We are finally realizing that more rooms don't always mean more happiness. As we watch the McMansion become the ultimate cringe symbol of the past, we have to wonder what we'll value in another decade. If you had $100 million today, would you buy a palace or a sleek penthouse? Would you choose the bowling alley or the peace of mind? Let us know in the comments, because the era of the Great Downsize is just getting started, and honestly, we're kind